Now, are you a soap fan? Are you a radio fan? If you're both of these, the chances are you would have heard of the Archers. Can you sing the theme tune, though? That's the big question. Now, with various soap celebrations happening recently, Corrie's just had its 50th anniversary. The Archers, a veteran, is about to celebrate its 60th anniversary, and I am delighted to say joining me on the line is the only original cast member still acting in the programme, the wonderful June Spencer. Hello, June, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It all looks very pretty down here in Surrey, but I haven't been able to negotiate my drive yet.
No, well, if I were you, I'd say completely where you are, because it's a death trap out there. I slid and I sort of came out of my house to get into the car this morning and sort of slid all over the place. So yes, just stay exactly where you are. It's much easier to do it on the telephone in any case. So first of all, congratulations, 60 years. For people that have never listened to the Archers, can you give us a brief synopsis on what it's all about?
Well, it originated as a programme really for the farmers. Back in 1950, when we did the pilot week, they were being bombarded by all sorts of leaflets from the Ministry of Food and Ag, and it was all too much for them. And they said, what we really need is a farming Dick Barton.
Right.
So that's how the Archers started. We were meant to inform and entertain at the same time in equal parts. And we've gone on from there. The family was formed, and the family has grown enormously. We started with, I think, there were 9 of us in the first episode, and now there are well over 60.
Wow. So how did you get the part? Did you go along an audition?
No, I didn't need to do that because I had been broadcasting since 1943.
Since you were 12, is that right?
No. I'm 91 now, for heaven's sake. So, I've been doing all sorts of radio plays, features, children's hour, all that sort of thing. So my work was well known to Godfrey Baisley, who dreamed up the Archers.
Right.
So I was just cast as Peggy.
And that was it. So that was your role. It's such an iconic series, The Archers. I mean, I'm sure if I walked down the streets of London now and said to people, sort of hum the theme tune, they would be able to do it. 9 out of 10 people would. Such an iconic series. How does it feel to be a part of it? I mean, did you, when you started it, think that it would last as long as it has done? Oh,
goodness, no. We were given, I think, a 13-week contract to start with. And if anybody had told me that when I was 91 I'd still been playing Peggy, I'd have thought they were raving mad. But I'm very glad I am.
And Peggy, describe to the listeners, in your words, how you would describe Peggy. What would you say she was like?
Well, she is usually described now as the matriarch. She's not the only matriarch in Ambridge, of course, there's Jill as well. But, no, she has an enormous family now, masses of children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. And I think that's the secret of the Archers. We've aged. Everything has gone in chronological order. And Peggy started as a 24-year-old, the girl from London. She was a Londoner who didn't know anything about farming, and she was brought in especially for the town listeners, so that when country ways were described to her, it also described it to the listeners.
Okay, I see. So what do you love about her? Because I guess you've grown with her, haven't you? You've run a sort of parallel life, really.
Indeed, I have. Yes. We're not all that much alike, I suppose. She's a much more serious-minded person than I am. She doesn't have much of a sense of humour, and I have, thank goodness. And I think if Peggy had a sense of humour, it would have helped her, because, poor dear, she's had an awful life. Her first husband, Jack, he was an alcoholic. He had a rather roving eye, and then he died. And she was a widow for a long time before she married Jack Woolley. And her family has grown over the years, and she's a very good grandmother. She seems to have endless time and money for the grandchildren, which is nice. But she has had very traumatic times, because Jack Woolley, her present husband, developed Alzheimer's, and so that was a dreadful time for her, and she had a stroke. which she's recovered from, thank goodness. But she's really had a very difficult life, and I'm very fond of her, and I feel sorry for the poor old dear.
Because the part of the storyline when Jack developed Alzheimer's was also mirroring what was going on in your own life, wasn't it? Because your husband Roger also had developed it as well. Did you find it was easier to take that into your work because you'd have experience of it at home, or was it a bit too raw to deal with?
Well, it was. It did help, of course, enormously. I knew what it was all about. I knew what it was like to be a carer. And, no, I think when I go into the studio, I'm Peggy. When I come out, I'm June.
Yes.
So that I was able to play those very poignant scenes. But listening to them at home, that is when it sometimes got to me.
That's when it's hard. And you've brought out a book, haven't you? The Road to Ambridge, My Life, Peggy and the Archers. And I was just reading a little bit of the sort of bio that they send through with the book. Born at a time when milk was collected in a jug from the local store, June takes us back in time to what she affectionately recalls the slower pace of childhood and reflects on life during the Second World War. It sounds like it's going to be a fascinating read. I can remember my grandmother who was born in the late 1920s, and she used to tell me a lot of stories about the Second World War, and they were evacuated out to a little tiny village in Hampshire called Farringdon, and I used to love listening to all those stories when life was so much simpler than I guess it is nowadays. So was it fun writing the book?
Oh, it was. I laughed an awful lot. I did cry a bit too over the sad bits, but it was great fun writing it because I found that I could remember back to my earliest childhood in the very early 1920s. And I have vivid memories of the 20s and the 30s and, of course, the war.
Yeah.
And my daughter kept saying, when I kept telling her all these funny things that had happened to me, she said, "Oh, Mum, you should write it down."
It's fantastic, because I used to say this to my nan all the time. Why don't you write it all down? And sadly, my grandmother's passed away now, so it's just what's in my memory left now. And you know, I get a bit confused with all of it. So the fact that it's actually written down in a book is fantastic, and I think it's going to be a fantastic read. So it's called The Road to Ambridge, My Life, Peggy and the Archers by June Spencer. What are you up to for Christmas, June? Are you staying in? Are you going out anywhere?
Well, I'm hoping to get up to my daughter in Suffolk. She was supposed to come down and collect me, but it doesn't look very hopeful at the moment.
No, my mother's been stuck here. She came down a couple of days ago. She's trying to get back to Worcester. Apparently, she's going to attempt to do it a bit later on this afternoon, but yes, well, we'll see. But hopefully there will be a bit of a thaw in the next couple of days, and you can get to spend Christmas with your daughter.
Oh, let's hope so. I've stored in masses of food as for a siege, so if I'm here on my own, yes, I shall be all right.
Well, you see, I haven't done that, because I'm going up to Manchester on Christmas Day with my boyfriend. His family are from Manchester, so we're travelling up in the morning, so I literally haven't bought anything. So if we can't get up to Manchester, it is going to be baked beans and mince pies for us, unfortunately.
Well, it's not too late to get something.
No, actually, I think I might, just to be on the safe side, nip out tomorrow and sort of stock up. So what's next for you? Are you going to continue? Any chance of retirement, or are you just going to keep going?
I'm not planning on retiring.
Good girl.
As long as I can still put in a decent performance, and as soon as they want me, if they still want me, then I shall carry on. Good for you.
June, thank you so much for joining me. Happy Christmas. I do hope you get up to Suffolk to see your daughter over the festive period. But thank you so much. And June's book, The Road to Ambridge, is out now. My Life, Peggy and the Archers. So definitely worth a read. It looks fantastic. Happy Christmas. Time for one last track. This is